Summer Institute in Digital Literacy presents CoLab, an interdisciplinary, school-based approach to digital literacies for disciplinary learning, featuring Mike Mandarino with Jill Kastek.
All right. Well, I want to give a huge thank you to our students and to our teachers, Mr. Murphy and Ms. Stolarski, for presenting. And I'm going to have each of our students introduce themselves as well, but a huge welcome to Aaliyah, Mia, Sidlalik, Estrella, Desiree, and then Amy Stolarski and Tim Murphy, the teacher. So they're going to really do a lot of the sharing, but I just, Dr. Kastek and I have done a lot of collaboration, as well as some others who are leading this conference. And CoLab has presented in the past, and I think it's generated a lot of excitement and interest. And I think what I've gotten to witness over the years, and especially just in this past year, of us undergoing pandemic learning and really being online through February, and then maybe 40% of students being in person and about 60% of students still opting for remote learning at home. So it was a really interesting mix of some in person, mainly remote, but still holding true to the ideals and the mission and what CoLab is trying to do. And in terms of a very inquiry-driven, problem-based, student-centered experience. So with that first, I'd just like everyone to introduce themselves. So maybe let's start with along my, I'm going with my screen. How about Aaliyah, if you want to kick us off, maybe just say who you are, something, a little bit about yourself, but we are a 2-district high school that collars O'Hare Airport. So if you've flown into Chicago, you've flown over our district. So sometimes you might even hear airplanes in the background as we're presenting, but why don't you kick it off, Aaliyah, and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then pass it on to one of your colleagues.
Hi, my name is Aaliyah. I go to Westline High School. I'm going to be a senior next year, and I was part of the first CoLab program at West Leiden. So I'll pass it on to Mia.
And I went to Eastline High School, and I went through the program as well, obviously. And I was the only one in CoLab last year from Rosemont. Anyways, I'm gonna pass it off to Desiree.
Hi, I'm Desiree. I'm a sophomore at East Leiden, and I went through the CoLab program last year along with Mia. And I'm in the theater department, and I'm gonna pass it on to Estrella.
Hi, my name is Estrella, and I was in CoLab last year during the pandemic, and I'm a sophomore now. I'm gonna pass it down to Silali.
Hi, I'm Sidlalik. I'm a sophomore, and I went to CoLab on West Leiden with Estrella.
Pass it on to one of your teachers.
I'll pass it on to Mr. Murphy.
All right, so I'm the West Leiden digital literacy teacher, and the two girls, Sidlalik and Estrella, had the unfortunate pleasure of having me in class. I am year 23 at Leiden, 28 years teaching. I just became a grandpa. So there you go. I'm an old timer. And just so you know, last year I volunteered to join CoLab, and it was a great experience. And I learned a lot. Not only did I learn about my subject matter and become a better teacher, but I learned how to write a poem. I learned how to eat healthier, and I even learned how to do yoga. So that was all part of the CoLab experience. And Ms. Stolarski.
I'll finish it off. I'm Amy Stolarski. I'm the English teacher in the East CoLab. This will be my 4th year with CoLab. So I was in it from the beginning. We spent a bunch of years planning it with Dr. Mandarino and a team of teachers. And every year it gets a little bit better because we change it as we go and we reflect and we revise. I'm super excited to be a part of the program. I knew that it was a good program to be part of, but during the pandemic, it was even better because when I think teachers across the country felt isolated and alone and just lost, I had a team of teachers I was working with every single day. And even though it was virtual, I felt supported and valued, and it was so great to be a part of a team. So I'm happy that I'm still a part of it. And I get to work with students like these every day who are willing to chat with us over the summer about what we've accomplished together. So thanks, students, for being here with us tonight.
So I will share, I'm going to share my screen. The team here developed a slide deck to give some really rich examples. Tim and Amy are going to give a little broad overview of the program just to situate it. And we might even go even quicker. And then what we set up was sort of like a Q&A, and they'll kind of bounce back and forth and ask questions of the students that are really reflective of their experiences, and they'll share some of their artifacts. So let me just share my screen here.
Also, feel free to interrupt us though, because we're such a small group, so we can chat as, you know, in a circle, and feel free to pepper us with questions as we go too.
All right, well, we already went to this. We already said who we are. So our mission, students will become confident, creative problem solvers working in an interdisciplinary and collaborative space in order to foster inquiry, leadership, communication, and reflection. CoLab will help students discover their passions and advocate for their learning. And then there's 4 components that we talk about. We have the crew, where we meet in small groups. There's about 120 students in our course. And so we broke them up with the 5 different teachers. So we each created that crew about, I'm not doing my math, but 20 people per group. Then we did that. We did workshops. Sometimes we did traditional lessons, not usually. Many of the lessons were co-taught. And they do a really good job, and I'm still learning about that. And then there's a ton of collaboration with the students and the teachers. And that's basically the 4 components of CoLab.
The biggest difference between CoLab and some of the traditional classes is that we have a flexible schedule. And because of the flexible schedule, we can be very kind of open and free with our time. We have 5 teachers. And so like Murphy was saying, we can have workshops, or we can have guest speakers, or we can take field trips. We also have flexible spaces in the building, so we can use those and really kind of meet the students' needs for whatever we're working on that particular week. And we built in that flexibility because we were thinking about the end goal of exhibition, which is what we're supposed to be kind of talking about and focusing on today. The end goal is never just like the writing exercise, like an essay or a test. Like we will write along the way, and we'll even take tests and quizzes along the way. But the end goal is exhibition. So students can publish their work for an authentic audience. They can present it in front of that audience. And then they can, you know, have pride in the work that they've done and really get the experience of sharing their work beyond just between a student and a teacher. And so that's really kind of our end goal, is this publishing and presentation of the students' work. So students, will you help us kind of define it a little bit further? Like, what is an exhibition? And then when we have exhibitions, what are some of your goals?
An exhibition are projects that we do throughout the year that make a change in either ourselves, others, or to our community. My goal was to communicate when I needed help, or if we were in a group, I would be able to communicate with them, because I noticed that I would stay quiet most of the time. So that's something that that's my goal.
Thanks, Estrella. Does anybody else want to add to that?
I would have to agree. Exhibition to me is like the composition in which you choose to express yourself and your ideas in the way that others can respond to it visually or conceptually. And for me, my goal during exhibition was better communication skills. So I felt I needed to improve upon my presentation skills, and which would be useful in the next exhibition that we would have.
Thanks, Aaliyah.
Was there anyone else, or should we move on to the next? Are there any questions for the students about exhibition? Just so, again, as Ms. Stolarski pointed out, we have a nice small group here. So does anyone have a question to?
Hi.
Hey.
I just arrived. There's an issue with getting into the room for some people through the LMS. And so I'd like to continue with this because I stayed up all night to attend it. If you could just give me just a 2 or 3 sentence explanation of where we're at so I can
Sure.
participate.
So we just started. We gave a brief introduction. We have students with us who are in the CoLab program at East and West Leiden, which is an interdisciplinary program that's problem-based, and it's built around this idea that we can work across disciplines, and the students can create work for an authentic audience and then be ready to present it at exhibition. And so I think one of the most unique things about the program is that at the end, students present their work, they publish their work, they talk about it, they share what they learned along the way. And so the students are just they're here and they're ready to talk to you about what it means to exhibit their work and share it with peers and adults in the community.
Froze. Did I freeze?
So I'm working with literacy infused integrated STEM. And that's exactly the same concept, except for we already have this sort of a process in place to produce and share in a collaborative space. So there's a lot of overlap with those two, but I'm here to learn about how to look at it from the perspective of, non-science.
Cool.
For sure.
Welcome. Thanks.
So why don't we go on then maybe to the next question, because we talk about exhibitions as a form of demonstrating one's learning, and students have really talked about what it means to them and what some of their goals were. But we had another question here.
So students, how did you end up choosing your focus and tools to exhibit your passion?
We ended up choosing our focus and tools to exhibit our passion by our teachers asking us to write a paragraph on the role that we wanted to participate in and the tree project we did at the end of the school year. And we had 4 roles to choose from: translator, arborist, graphic designers, and salespersons. In a paragraph, we had to convince the teachers that we would do a good job on the role that we chose.
Thanks, Lali. Go ahead, Aaliyah.
Adding on to that, as a first year experience in CoLab, I was in the first program that they ever started and they ever had to begin with. So our projects looked a bit different from last year, which was during the pandemic. So for our project, we had to create a change in our community or in our school. So I chose recycling because I've noticed from middle school on, there was never a recycling option for aluminum and plastics, and all the programs were paper-based, so I wanted to change this. And our teachers, rather than give us roles that we can choose from, they had all of the classmates in one room to discuss in a natural and open manner of what we were passionate about. So great and successful projects often start with a group of like-minded individuals. As we were sharing ideas in the room, people would gravitate to what they liked, and they would form these groups that were already so natural to begin with because everybody had the same passion. So that's kind of how we chose how to separate the roles and how to create this group in order to create a change.
For my year at CoLab, which was last year, our whole school, the whole school year, we had a theme of resilience going on in all of our different assignments, and we had a poetry unit. And me personally, writing is one of my favorite subjects, so I tend to like these types of assignments, and I was able to find a way to focus and using different tools given to us to help my writing we had the opportunity to talk to a certain writer and look at different writers' poetry, and we were able to choose strategies or techniques that they used in their writing that we could use in our own, and that ended up helping me a lot because I found patterns that I would like to use in my poetry and that I continue to use to this day.
Thanks, Des, especially for bringing up the literacy connection. So thank you. Students, is there anything that you wanted to add before we move forward?
And I'll just say, as we keep going, if there's a slide you need me to go to, just say, hey, please go to this slide so I can show an example of what I'm talking about. So this was, this was up there. Aaliyah was talking about that recycling project, and I think a good representation of how the students generated this and worked through. This isn't just unstructured inquiry either, right? There's a whole lot of structure that's built in, but then the students are driving that structure. Is one of the cool things. I think that really happens.
Kim, do you have a question?
I do, and it actually has to do with the structure of inquiry. So in terms of your school, when you are initially selecting those types of passion projects, is there an overarching umbrella of curriculum, is what I'm going to use, the formal term curriculum, or is it complete free open inquiry in the sense that you get to select the topic from anything that you're interested in?
It's not completely open, because we have, because we have our 5 disciplines, so students are earning credit for English and biology and digital literacy, health and PE, and global studies, which is like a history, social studies class. And so there are, in the back of our minds, there are things that we definitely want to cover, and there, students will choose along the way. Students will choose books they want to read, but then there's also, we also all read The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. So there are connections built in, and so it's not completely 100% free inquiry, but we've based it on universal standards rather than content standards. So that's probably the biggest shift for us, because we're a team of 5 teachers. We've all agreed on a set of universal standards that really kind of work with science content and English content and history content and health. And so we use the standards to kind of to plan the exhibitions, and we have the years separated into 3 different parts. And so then we know that we want to meet these skills within that part of the year. And there's some content we teach maybe in the beginning, and then the students can make choices after they get that basic content from us each time.
Cool.
Does that answer your question?
It absolutely answers exactly what it, and in terms of your universal standards, they sound like they're conceptual based, meaning that it's the big ideas, right? The big ideas, and then we're going to explore kind of more in depth through inquiry.
Yes. The big ideas of reading and thinking and communication, right? That happens in science and English and history, right? Exactly.
So in the path, right, there's a link to the CoLab website that actually has the universal standards, but we could always drop that in the chat as well. But yeah, the teachers have made the universal standards publicly available through that CoLab website.
And just so you know, this was my first year with standard-based learning, and it was definitely a learning curve. I didn't quite understand it, and so hopefully next year I will get a little better at it. So it's something that just takes practice. As they said, it's just practice, practice, practice. I'm a business guy, and I was grading English papers and doing different things as a team. So it was quite interesting. It was a really great experience. And I think the kids really valued a different perspective from me in the classroom as opposed to some other teachers. So it's always good when you're in a team and there's a bunch of different personalities, as it's just one teacher and they just have to do it one way. When kids presented and exhibited, they were able to do it in different venues. If they wanted to do a slide deck, they could do a slide deck, they could do a video, they could do just about anything as long as we could grade it. So try to give them as many choices as possible.
And Tim, I appreciate the fact that you said, give it some time. Pretty soon, your brain won't go back to thinking the other way. It will only think in that conceptual way, and you won't even be able to make yourself think a different way. So, but you're exactly right. That different perspective is huge, and having all of those different adult influences to help you see things in different ways is very beneficial.
Yeah.
So we had some other questions for the students, and I think also for the teachers to answer as well, in terms of the process as well, not just the product.
So who wants to take this next one?
That'll be me. So for me, my learning changed during the exhibition when I had to deal with time management and also taking in feedback and making revisions. So during the time of our final exhibition around the end of the school year, like I said, I'm in the theater department and I was in the play and I was a lead role in both English and Spanish. So I was busy a lot of the time and I had to figure out how to manage my time after school and make sure that I got my exhibition work done, but also I still continued to focus on the play to make sure that we put our best foot forward. Obviously, school comes first, and that was what I focused on. So I had to ask my director, I need to get some work done in here, and I need to make sure that I messaged one of my teachers and let them know that I'm sorry if this isn't my best work or it feels rushed, that I explained my situation, and all of the teachers were understanding and they were supportive. And I also learned to take in feedback and make revisions because my first draft never was submitted as my final product because the teachers knew that I could do better than that, that all of us could do better, and that with a little learning and taking constructive criticism from others could help us learn new techniques and could also help us just put the best possible work that we could create forward and turn that in.
Thanks, Des.
I think one of the things when we talk about this example of what the kids did is a lot of times and Amy brought this up earlier, when we're giving a kid an assignment, we just say, get it and get it done. Well, in the exhibition, they practice and they practice and they practice more. And the teachers are continuing to tell them, and the students are reflecting, oh, you could do this better. You could try this and you could try that. So the end product or the end result is something really special compared to, and they're going to take these memories and use those in other classes and have a building block for the future. So I think it's really good that it creates that. And I mean, how often in the real world do people take tests? They don't. They give presentations, they're doing sales promotions, or they're doing something else like that. So I think this is really important skill that's going to help them in the future.
And as someone who's been invited, one of the cool things that CoLab does is they invite anyone who wants to come to the exhibitions can come. And so in this year, you know, some of them were obviously on Google Meet and they were virtual. So the amount of choreography, honestly, that went into some of it, who was going next, going through the slide deck and practicing that. I'm not really saying this hyperbolically. Like, to me, they rival like the command of their subject matter in the way that like a doctoral student has a command of their dissertation defense. I'm just personalizing, like when I was in high school, there was no way I could have done the presentations that these students have presented in exhibition 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I think there's a lot of skills that don't always come across on paper or on a rubric, but it's amazing to me to see the command of their knowledge, not just of the content itself, but in terms of collaborating with each other and building on each other's ideas and what they learn from each other. So I see a lot of student head nodding. So I hope I captured that well. But I mean, as someone who's not teaching in the program, but gets to kind of float in and float out and just see what's going on, it truly is it's not your typical school day.
I think it is really hard to measure soft skills like what you described, but they ultimately are the skills that transfer out into real life, and they are the ones. Yeah, the content is important, but at the same time, it's those soft skills and that you're going to need and that are going to be key to your success in whatever you decide to do after high school. So I agree, Michael. I think that's sometimes we need exhibits to be able to help people who aren't educators understand kind of what was important about it. I always used to say, because I would do video projects with third graders, and I would always start the gallery, which I think is kind of like an exhibition. I would always start the gallery by saying, there's nothing cute about the project that you're going to see tonight, because there's nothing cute about doing video work with, 9-year-olds or whatever. And I think it's that helping parents recognize and other adults and ourselves recognize that this is hard work.
Well, and I think what you said, Kim, about like the soft skills, I think that's, when students present their work, like Des was talking about time management and having to, we, of course, like in a traditional classroom without an exhibition, students definitely have to worry about time management because they have to manage their assignments, but it becomes more real. And then, Estrella had talked about like communication skills, like her goal was to make sure that she was communicating. I think that like exhibition, the cool thing for me as a teacher is to watch exhibition pull that out of students and to watch them practice it over and over again. So students, will you kind of name some of the challenges you faced while you were planning it, while we were getting ready and you were doing the work and you were rehearsing and all the stuff that happens before the actual exhibition?
So you mentioned soft skills, which is something that when you're so focused previously in your classes on content, academics, soft skills is not something that you think about. So that was a challenge when it came to presenting and getting ready for the exhibition. So I previously mentioned the recycling program or the recycling project that a group and I did for our exhibition. And with such a large project, it was no surprise that we ran into issues, especially communication wise. For our project, we were contacting different local recycling companies, and as a group of teenagers, we were freshmen at the time. We had never made a professional and independent phone call in our lives. So that was our soft skill that we lacked, and we were stuck. So as we kept trying to move the project along, we kept calling the company, and they immediately hung up and we immediately hung up when they answered. I think we did this about 5 times before the person on the other end was very annoyed with us. And we decided to solve the problem by simply asking our teacher, who explained the situation to the company and proceeded with business. Any new experience was really a challenge for us, and any new experience, especially soft skill wise, are common for exhibitions.
Thanks, Aaliyah. I love the honesty in that reflection. Thank you. Students, other examples of challenges that you guys faced and overcame?
Virtually for us, having to do an online exhibition, sometimes people are absent and that is communicated, like you realize it last minute. So when you're used to having a schedule or a routine when you're presenting, you always kind of remember who's before me or who's after me. And if a person before you is not there, it kind of throws you off and it throws the whole balance of the presentation off. So we had to get used to that. We had to make backup plans. If this person is absent, this teacher will say something and they'll let you know, or they'll take over, and then you just have to be ready to continue on with the presentation. So that was a struggle for us.
Thanks, Des, for mentioning that. I think one of the cool things about exhibition is it puts students and teachers at an equal playing field almost, because there were a couple times this year, Des and Mia were both at East with me, where I didn't notice that somebody was absent and students told me, and they punted and they solved the problem before I even had a chance to get all red and flustered and embarrassed. And I think without the exhibition, it would have been me in control in some way, but like it's really a shared experience and the students take over in like the coolest ways. So thanks for bringing that up, Des. Other examples of challenges, students?
To add on, some challenges that I went through were when the teachers are introducing a new project that we have to do. When you don't have any ideas that you're going to be able to do for the project, that's some type of challenge. And another challenge is that since I was in the pandemic, and when we were in a group project, some students wouldn't want to turn on their camera or just wouldn't want to get involved. But you just have to talk with them and see if we could actually work together.
So it sounds like you really had to kind of set aside the project for just a minute and focus on the person, focus on where they were at emotionally in order to be able to then kind of get back on track and get going, but recognizing that the human piece was kind of the important piece there, right, Estrella?
So I don't know if this is the right, was someone want to talk, was this part of the challenges or did I get out of order?
I think, was
It's
this
okay.
Leah's project?
Yeah, that was just an example of like the different things that we had to put together in order to complete that project.
So I think it shows what what your group was able to accomplish after you got over the communication hump. Right?
Yeah.
After you called the companies and were able to make contact with them.
I mean, and interesting, I guess I wouldn't have, now that you're saying this, just thinking about this on this bottom left, while this service served the North Lake region, I mean, knowing that you're even calling outside of your area code. So for us, Joliet is about an hour south of where our students are at. And so, you know, even that notion at 13, 14, right, to go through that and where are you from? What? You know, they're not the same communities. So.
Amanda, you want to go to slide? Oh, wait, never mind. Go ahead.
Is this right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or you want me to go to a different one?
Well, this is fine. I was going to have you go to slide 21 and let the West girls kind of talk about what they did. So this is just a little thing. So they did one semester we did a presentation, and then the second semester we did a tree project. So I'll let the girls talk about it a little bit. And do you want them to click? Who's doing the classroom? Is it Lalik? Yes, you want to click on the link for the classroom? So go ahead and talk.
For our first exhibition this past year, we had to come up with something like a classroom where we would add a recipe that we did, a poem that we wrote, and I chose to do my classroom in an outside place here in Mexico. Whereas you can see we had to do a recipe, a poem, and then we had to put some points and maps, which Estrella is going to talk about in a little bit. For my classroom, I decided to put stuff that you would normally find here in Mexico. And my maps, I got to do 2 maps because I was taking some honors credits. My map that everybody did, I chose to do the points in Mexico, and the honors map, I decided to do them in the United States. Some challenges that we come up with this was first putting links into pictures. I had never done that before. Well, with the help of Mr. Murphy, I was able to learn how to do that. And now today I will talk a little bit about the map.
Hi, for the map project, we are asked to pick locations anywhere in the world that you love or like that could be identified as a geographical trait, which are physical characteristics and human characteristics. Then you would have to explain why that location is your identity and why you would consider it a geographical trait. We also had to have claim evidence in our paragraphs that we had to write. And this is what you see is the map where everybody put their points of where their locations are.
And just to add on that, my Zoom is acting up, so I turned off my camera to work on my bandwidth. But all the kids participated, and then some of them we asked to present. If we would have had everyone present, the presentations would have lasted like 8 hours. So we gave them, we figured out what they wanted to do. We asked them which one they felt most comfortable with, and then we had them present. I think I put the link of the presentation in the presentation as well, so you can take a look at that. And the kids did a great job. And so in there they had the classroom, and the recipe, and then the poem. And I don't know if anyone talked about the poem, but the poem was quite a learning experience for me. Just to listen to what the kids share and what they want to talk about. And we let them write a poem. And I used to get in trouble because I used to say, I'm going to make you read for punishment through the English teacher. And Miss Caden used to yell at me. It's like, reading's not a punishment. And no, it's not. And so I'm getting better at that. And so the kids did a great job on the poem, and they learned how to record their poem. Do you actually have an example where, and then they actually did it with a voiceover, which I thought was really cool. And it took quite a bit, and I'm a tech person, and it took me a while to figure it out. So I thought it was good. So maybe just show a little bit of it, Estrella, not the whole thing. Is the sound on or no?
I'm not getting.
Yeah. So what it would say, so she did it in just the background, and it would hear a voiceover, which was phenomenal. But again, with the bandwidth and stuff, I don't know if it's working 100%. So, but what program I don't remember. We use so many different programs and certain things throughout the year. I'm not sure what even program we used. Do you remember what it was, Estrella?
For the poem, we use Video.
Video.
It's on your desktop, I think it is, and you would press it and record yourself. And in the corner, you would have like your face, or you could either take that off, and you would just record, and it will save to your computer.
Okay. Good job.
It's beautiful, and I love your imagery, and I also love like the color scheme and everything. It's just really thought like everything coalesces together. It all flows, it's all fitting.
That's one of the standards they have. It's the color scheme, just so you know.
He's joking, but we do talk about design principles.
Right.
So should we go back? We can go back to some of the questions just so that we can talk about some things that we haven't maybe explored yet. I think the next question is, there you go. Thanks, Dr. Mandarino. Like what were you most excited about when you were getting ready with exhibition, or what are you most proud of, like once the exhibitions ended?
So what was really exciting was during the exhibition was getting to learn and hear what everyone's learned, and hear about the different things that we went through within the year, like the poems and the maps and all that, and the recipes. It was so cool just seeing the different ones and seeing the different styles. And it was really cool to see just the people presenting and hearing different voices and more of different perspectives about the things that we've learned.
It's pretty inspirational to see all that creativity too. So that piece can be this really big energy surge in your exhibition, because it's just so fun, but also so exciting and so inspiring. And enlightening, because then you learn, like you said, Mia, you learn about other people, and you may not have known that piece about them, or that side of them.
I think as a teacher, we've noticed that our exhibitions really actually help us build community, because the students support each other. They give feedback along the way when we're rehearsing and practicing. And so then they look at each other as sources of, really like important feedback. But then we also, in the end, there are lots of shout outs and congratulations, and students feel supported and recognized by their peers.
I love that. I love that culture. And the one thing I will say about that culture is, when you start to build that culture and over years you continue to grow it, it's really hard to tear it apart. It becomes, this is our identity. This is the way we function together. So it makes it a really strong, safe learning environment.
Something I'm proud of throughout the school year was how comfortable I was talking to everyone. And that started off at the beginning of the school year. I had an opportunity to do a project that was not related at all to the school year, but was related to breast cancer awareness because it's something I was very passionate about because I had experienced a situation like that in my own home. And I was able to work with the teachers to make a slideshow about that. And I was able to get a lot of our students in the classroom to wear pink and show their support on Twitter, which was part of our curriculum. We all had to make a Twitter account and we had multiple assignments um, using our communication skills to express how grateful we were for special guests. And I was able to do multiple presentations, one including the LGBTQ, to spread awareness on the importance of being educated on these types of things, whether or not you support it. And it was just respecting others. And that was something I was really proud of that I was able to communicate throughout our entire classroom.
Thanks, Des.
I think this is my favorite question. So I want to hear from everyone, both teachers and students, in terms of thinking about moving forward and what this can mean.
My advice for teachers who are gonna plan an exhibition is just to be patient with the students, to let them catch up if they don't understand, or help them out if they need help or anything.
So I want to maybe Mr. Murphy or Ms. Stolarski maybe jump in and talk maybe a little bit about that from the perspective of, it's easy to focus on the end product and how you're going to assess that, but what are things you've learned along the way about like assessing in the moment, and the ways that you're thinking about like how are we supporting students and how are we making sure they're not just meeting the universal standards, but at the end of the day, right, you're still very steeped in the disciplines of English or in digital literacy and technology. So
I think one of the things I learned, and so this is my, like Murph said, he's been teaching for over 20 years, over 20-ish years. I'll be starting my 22nd year, I think. And every year I get more and more patient every year because I've learned that students, like, they need time to arrive at excellence in different ways and in different modes. And so I think I would say that, like, I've learned that I need to give students opportunities to revise more and more and more, and to encourage revision and to celebrate the revision and celebrate the learning. So I've gotten better at being a little bit more patient and celebrating success along the way too, and like not having an end cutoff date. We just continue to revise.
Yeah. When I talk about the exhibition and stuff, so this was the first year I've done this. I've done a lot of different project-based learning over the years, teaching different subjects. But in this particular aspect of the kids and watching specifically in the English aspect of the revision and thinking, I read a poem, I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. And then Miss King would be like, oh no, this needs to change, this needs to change, this needs to change. And then you look at it. So it's just that step process. And then working with Mr. Joe, our PE teacher, and him going around and, well, you should eat this. Well, I want to eat this. Well, no, you should eat this because it's healthier. And different things like that. Is I really think is that as teachers, we get comfortable too much and we get set in our ways and we don't want to change. And if you're willing to step out of your comfort zone and try new things, you're going to be better off. And the kids know it. Like the first day we did PE, I was screaming like a little baby that why did I sign up for this? Because I was so sore. I almost had a heart attack. I was like, I didn't eat enough. I didn't have protein. I just had sugar for breakfast. And here I am doing this cardio workout that's insane. And it just learning process of everything and the different things and different perspectives that every individual student and teacher. I think one of the neat things, and most of the collabs can agree with, is that you got respected. Any kid or any teacher was the same person, that they were respected as a human being. It doesn't matter. No one's on an ego. And I think that's really important. And I think that's one of the things that we can help society with, is getting rid of the ego and just worrying about what's best for kids.
So Mr. Murphy said something that resonated with me, is that sometimes as educators, we struggle to change, right? So I know students, you had some other pieces of advice of really thinking about how to pull off an exhibition and to support students as they go through the exhibition process. So what else would you add to?
My advice to teachers is to really get to know your students and more specifically their passions. When you know what your student enjoys or feels heavily inclined to, you can build your lessons off of those aspects. And this can really create a spark and motivation within the student simply because it's their passion and it's being represented and they enjoy and they enjoy the work that they are doing. And this can really lead to something amazing.
My advice would be to find something universal, like a universal theme. Like our universal theme was resilience, and all of us have stories or something that we can connect to resilience in our lives. So I would say find something that you can connect to every student's life that might just be so general, but you can dig deep into that and find out how it connects with every single student. And you learn a little bit, something more about a student, and you can find things that you have in common with them or that other students may have in common with them.
Now, this was kind of said before, but also just get involved in what the students are learning. If they're learning about religion, maybe just talk about more about that part of religion or something. And like Miss Larsky said in the chat, join us in PE and not just in the warm-ups.
My advice for a teacher who would be planning an exhibition would be to give the students a reasonable time to create and think about the assignments that they were given.
Anyone
Thanks.
else? No?
Students, I think one of the things too that we talk about, like with exhibition, is that we all wrote scripts for the most part. And that even is a part of like a writing exercise. Like we talk about like, well, sure, you write a poem and you might write an essay. But really, like even writing the script for exhibition was a way for you to work on your writing. And then we revised those scripts and then we practice presenting those. And so I think exhibition allows us to think about like so many different experiences you can have to practice before the actual day. So that one, Lalik, when you said about like giving time for that, like it reminded me that like, yeah, we even took time to write scripts and revise scripts. And then we even had full rehearsals before exhibitions.
So I know we're coming up on toward the tail end of time. So just if there's any other questions or things that, as you presented, students as well, that it just made you think of. There's some slide images here of examples of exhibition from when we were fully in person. But one of the things that's always striking to me is, this being a digital literacies conference, is this constant fluidity of both digital and analog. So in this case, these museums are physical, tangible museums that happen in some of our common spaces, and yet all of the digital practices that went into it, some of the digital practices that go into presenting as well, whether that be the creation of the students self-publish their own magazines and put them to print. So they're actual physical copies that are distributed across the community as well. So they're sitting on the dentist's office, with People magazine or Sports Illustrated or anything like that. And then these are just, more images of community members and families being together, but then also leveraging some of the technology that we have in terms of creating, some of these digital presentations, including, we have that picture, or doing it digitally. This was an example of the virtual identity exhibition.
Yeah.
See all the screens from
Lalik and Estrella made that image, and they made it together. They did the donuts because I talk about donuts all the time, and the twos were they almonds, right? Right. So they did two because our PE teacher taught the kids how to make almond milk, as one of the, and he recorded. It was awesome. So that they kind of did that, and they created this, and they spent a lot of time on doing that. And it looks like it'd be simple just to put people around, but that was very time consuming. And I was very proud of them, especially putting the donuts in for me.
It's amazing. It's enticing, and I just want to like dive in, and I want to be there and see what was going on. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So I have to say, you know, I don't know if I'm your only outside person here right now, but I have to say the work that you're doing at your high school, I'm speaking to the students right now, the work that you're doing at your high school is really important work. And I feel, I always feel, I want every kid to have this experience. And so I'm going to tell you from the outside, from other schools, not every kid, and not even close to every kid, gets learning experiences like this. And I know that that's going to make a huge difference in your life. And to the teachers, I would say it's all worth it. Like all of this time that goes into, for Tim, you know, kind of changing your pedagogy and how you're thinking about design. And I was looking at your website and how your curriculum is designed. I worked in a school that had these same types of big idea, these big units. It creates a learning culture that is, I mean, it's just amazing. And it is life-changing to have, to flow into a culture like that. So I feel so excited for all of you, and so lucky that I got to see all of this, the cool stuff that you're doing, not just your projects, but really that life process and that learning process. I feel so excited for all of you. And now I want to come, and I also want to go to the website and see if you have job openings, because I want to come and teach at your school. I'm always looking for schools like this, and there aren't tons of them. So yay for you, and stick with it. I do have one question. So are you part of a public school system, or yay? And that's even a bigger deal. All the teachers in this in this block, we know that is hard work to fight. There's a lot of bureaucracy that gets in the way sometimes, and yay raw for you for understanding great pedagogy. So I'm so excited about this, very excited. So I come to Chicago sometimes, so I may just show up on your doorstep. So.
We do. I mean, I know obviously it's been different in the past year and a half, but we always invite visitors and like to show programs. And I think, you know, one interesting thing as a public school, we can be every bit as innovative and every bit as traditional, sometimes at the same time.
Yes.
And so really this program emerged from the teachers.
Yes.
My predecessor, he gave a group of teachers some space just to learn and think and imagine. And then I've gotten to witness this group of teachers build year after year after year, and the students start building alongside with them, and the relationships that I see formed between students and teachers, and teachers and students. And you know, here Aaliyah is coming back to make a presentation after being out of the program for 4 years. You see that impact. But I think from my perspective, being really on the outside of it and kind of watching it happen and saying just maybe how can I help, is I feel like the dedication of the staff and the students and buying in and spreading the word. And I do think the exhibitions are a way to make people aware of actually what's happening, because, you know, we talk about challenges, and sometimes the challenge is, well, why are you going off and doing some of these types of learning activities when shouldn't they be in English class and then going to PE class? But then when people see the exhibitions, I think that totally reframes and people rethink what it means to learn in some cool ways.
Dr. Mandarino, I agree 100%. It's that transparency of the process. And we so infrequently do that. And so creating a culture that's, I'm sure, and Amy, you may have been there when it started, the very first time you talk about having an exhibition, you'll have colleagues or people in there that'll say, well, no one's going to come. No one's going to. And it's just like the Field of Dreams. They do come. And then the next time and the next time, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I can remember one year I had 2 sets of triplets. So can you imagine like and then 3 sets of twins in a particular grade level? And we were all like, okay, how are these parents going to jockey this? Because we couldn't have all of those exhibits. Obviously, all those kids were in the same grade level. How can we have all of their exhibits? And so we had to split them onto 2 nights. And we were like, okay, well, will the triplets parents come? They did. They will. And it's because we've built that expectation. And I'm just thrilled for you guys. I'm so excited about this. So, and thank you, Aaliyah. Thank you, all of you, but thank you, Aaliyah, for coming back. Your voice is very important, and I'm so excited that you all were sharing your perspective. So, yeah. We've been in class, so just so that you guys can know, the people that are coming to your stuff, we've been in class since 10 this morning. I got up and dropped my own kid off at a camp this morning I didn't drop her off at 5:30. I got up at 5:30 so that I could drop her off at 7:30. But the bottom line is it's still just as exciting at 7 o'clock at night as it was. and that's because of you guys. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yay. Yay. And I really am going to look to see if you have openings.
Kim,
if I'm not in class tomorrow, you'll know. Working on my application.
You're welcome to visit anytime. I would love to see you and show you around it. That's really fun.
Yes. I love exciting. Jill, what did you start to say?
Your enthusiasm is contagious, and just to have the energy and the questions and the engagement you had is going to make this recording a must-see for everybody who wasn't here today.
I always warn people that's kind of me. I really haven't I even have it packed up. I haven't had any caffeine since about 10 this morning. So sometimes I'm a little overwhelming because
I can't relate to that.
All right. Thank you so
much. Thank you.
Congratulations. Yay, Ross.
Right, thanks,
yay,
guys.
Amy. Yay, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, lighting crew. Nice job as always presenting.
Brilliant.
Keep
Brilliant.
going. Yeah.
Students, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Like none of this happens without you saying yes when we ask you to do things. So that's when Kim was talking about how like it's so cool to like work in this environment. She was saying that she wants to apply here. I was thinking like that's what I love about Leiden. Like we have an administration, like Dr. Mandarino is part of administration. And when the CoLab teachers ask for something, like he says yes. And then when the CoLab students like ask for things, the teachers say yes. And when the teachers ask for things, the students say yes. Like I think that is like, that's why I love working with all of you, because everybody says yes. And you guys are open to new experiences. I really appreciate that you were here today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And I'm sure I will talk to you guys before school starts.
Yeah,
thanks for
only a
being
month left, and then you get to see me every day, boys and girls.
Thanks. And Jill, thanks for hosting us.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.